Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jalen, and I'm going over all the books that I want to read in November, and then also announcing the Secret History Book Club, which has been in the works for a little bit now, and it's happening next month. So, let's just hop into the TBR. Well, first up, hold up. I'm wearing my Sunny's drip. Shout out to CJ and Sunny's book truck. And also, I also have Crocs to match. We love it. These are the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn in my life. So love that. So yeah, let's just go into it. I'm reading 3 books right now, and then I'll go into the rest of the books that I'd like to potentially read this month. It's a little ambitious, I must say, but that is a TBR. It's always ambitious. First up, I have Donna Tartt's The Secret History. As I mentioned, I am reviving my book club. It's going to be a part of like my podcast series, but I'm going to be having a live stream for this book on December 4th. It's a Sunday. This will be a reread for me and I think a few others in the group, but I'll be joined by Anna Wallace-Johnson, Biblio Sophie, CJ, and Pato. They are all incredible creators, and I'm so excited to like do a group live stream moment. And I figured, as it's like one of the biggest literary fiction books ever, I figured it'd be a fun winter reread of sorts to get everyone into the spirit. And I think most people who watch BookTube likely have read this book or own it. So yeah, that'll be happening December 4th at noon Arizona time. I'm really bad at time zones. So yeah, if you'd like to read this month, I'll also link the Fable where you can follow along and chat in each chapter and everything. It's a really cool website. And so yeah, join us if you would like to. I already started rereading this. I'm like 25 pages in. I'm doing it with the audiobook, and I'm obsessed with it. It is so fucking good. For a while, I kept saying that The Secret History is like my all-time favorite book from when I first read it like 3 or 4 years ago. And I could see it maybe being the same thing. Like, I just love the tone, the vibes, the writing, her narration, and the audiobook is also incredible. So it is a masterpiece, I must say. And I'm loving it. So yeah, that is that. Now, 2 other books that I'm reading. Ben Lerner's 1004. I, earlier this year, read Leaving the Atocha Station by him, which is the first in his trilogy of like auto-fictional books, the last one being The Topeka School, 100 pages in. And it's a weird, dense little book, but it's doing a lot of what I really enjoy this year in fiction, meaning it's both metafictional, auto-fictional, about a character that's very similar to Ben Lerner doing things. Namely, he has a friend that they're deciding whether they want to procreate together. Platonic friends, but they're making that decision. And it's him sort of navigating being a writer, and then like the crafting of this book is the book, you know? Meta in that sense. It's good. Great writing. It's a little pretentious, but we love it. It's good. From Hell, I've been reading this for a while now. I picked this up for spooky season. I'm not that deep into it, but I'm loving it. It's a graphic novel. We love it. Something to mix it up. This one's also quite genius in terms of it being historical fiction and a graphic novel. So it's all about Jack the Ripper and the sort of what we know about him, and then Alan Moore putting his own fictional spin on things to kind of tell the story of Jack the Ripper with a fictional lens, as I mentioned. But the appendix in the back has a bunch of corresponding information that Alan Moore relied on to make every page of this graphic novel. And so it's been really interesting seeing like what he chose to make fictionalized, or what he kind of kept true to what really happened based on other accounts of Jack the Ripper. So I'm digging this. I don't know if I'll finish it this month. I'm just kind of grazing through it. It is a dense piece of graphic fiction, but I'm enjoying it. And then finally, here's a stack of books that I would like to get to this month. First up, I have Kick the Latch by Catherine Scanlon. I started this book in October, I believe, at the beginning of the month, and I got like 40 pages into it. It's a brief little book. And then I had to set it aside, I think because I was traveling. And now I just want to restart it and go back into it, but I was loving it. So I'm going to do that this month when I want a tiny single-sitting read. This is about a horse trainer, and Catherine Scanlon interviewed this woman in real life and then made a fictional account of that interview, basically. Very good, very short, concise writing, a bunch of vignettes. I love it. And out from New Directions, and this cover is gorge as well. Next up, I don't know if I'm going to get to this month, but it's the biography of X by Catherine Lacey. If you've been watching my channel over the summer, I was in a Lacey kick. I loved The Answers by her, which just got optioned for, I believe, HBO, I want to say. I just saw that yesterday. But anyways, I really want to read this. It comes out in March, so it's not like top priority. I'm also hoping she'll come on my podcast, so I might save this, but this is a book that like I keep looking at and I really want to read it. This will be coming soon. I think this one is also kind of like blending nonfiction and fiction, a roaring epic that plumbs the depths of grief, art, and love. So I guess it's like a fictional biography of a person or something. Catherine Lacey's big brain to tell, so I'm sure this is going to be a good one, but don't know if I'll get to it this month. Next up, I have Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. This is one of my favorite books of last year, and I picked up the paperback copy for obvious reasons. Insert here. Yeah, we're in the works of planning a podcast episode, and her new book comes out in June, and I'm excited. I want to reread this. This cover is simply utter perfection, so keep an eye out for that episode whenever it happens. Next, I have Gwendolyn Riley's My Phantoms. I read First Love by her last month, and I loved it, and New York Review of Books also published or reissued My Phantoms, so I want to read it. A bold, heart-stopping portrayal of a failed familial bond, which brings humor, subtlety, and new life to the difficult terrain of mothers and daughters. So I think First Love is like fraught marriage. This is fraught parent-daughter relationship, so sounds hot. Will likely be reading. Next, I have Tonio the Infallible by Avelio Rosero. This is a book that I hauled from New York last month, and this is about, I think, a sociopath and the relationship with a writer. And so I think it's sort of like literary horror, thriller vibes a bit, but this one's out from New Directions as well. I have a lot of good luck with them. So also someone DM'd me saying that they picked this up based on me hauling it and they read it and said it was great. So now I'm more inclined to read it. So that is that. Next, I have Frisk by Dennis Cooper. I read The Sluts over the summer, and it's one of my favorite books of the year, and so I want to read another Dennis Cooper, and this is a tiny little book about, I believe, a gay serial killer. Lots of unhinged characters in the books that I want to read, but that is a trend on the channel generally. So that is that. I'm sure it's going to be demented and depraved and violent and horrible, and I'm ready for it. Okay, next up, if you watched my last wrap-up, I read The English Understand Wool by Helen DeWitt. It's currently up in my favorite shelves because it's one of my favorite books I think I've ever read in my life, but New Directions kindly sent me the rest of the Storybook series. So we have Three Streets by Yoko Tawada, Early Light by Osamu Dazai, Spadework for a Palace by... I don't even know how to pronounce that name. I'm not even going to try it. These aren't focusing. I'm sorry. The Famous Magician by Cesar Era, and The Woman Who Killed the Fish by Clarice Lispector. And so these are tiny little storybook for adults in a series form that I'm really excited to read and keep reading because I loved the Helen DeWitt story. And these are like tiny books you can read in one sitting, so I'm hoping to get to a couple of these this month as well when I'm wanting something breezy and quick to get through. Yeah, shout out New Directions for being incredible and sending me these. So I have 3 books left. For nonfiction November, I want to read People Who Lunch by Sally Olds. This is a book that was only published in Australia so far, but my friend and friend of the pod, Paul Della Rosa, he recommended it to me on that podcast, and then I found an ebook version of it that was available now. So that is an essay collection I will read this month. I think it's about like, I forget what it says, like leisure, working. I think they're going to be like funny, smart, big-brained essays, and I'm ready for it. And then finally, I have 2 novels that I really want to read this month. The first one being Trespasses by Louise Kennedy. My understanding is that this book, I don't really know what it's about, but I saw a ton of rave reviews on my critic website that I often frequent, and Brandon Taylor blurbed it, said it's great. And also, this is about a young woman who is caught between allegiance to community and a dangerous passion in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. So I think it's like a love affair novel and also like violence and conflict as well. And the contrast between those two things sounds amazing. And I've been seeing this everywhere and I want to read it. And this cover is Gorgina. And then finally, I have a book that comes out in January 3rd. It is The New Life by Tom Crew. And he's coming on the pod. And again, reading the room ass cover. I'm obsessed. This one is a powerful, visceral novel about love, sex, and the struggle towards a better world. 2 men decide to write a revolutionary book about sexuality, risking their old lives in the process. And it's set in the late 1800s, so historical queer fiction. This is the debut novel from Tom Crew, who is a writer for the London Review of Books. Another friend of the pod, Lauren Euler, she also writes for London Review of Books, and I think this is going to be big-brained, historical, queer. And I was flipping through at the beginning, and there's some sex writing that I happened upon, so I think this is going to be a steamy read as well. So yeah, he will be the first guest on in the new year, so Episode won't be till January, but we're recording in early December, so I'm reading this month, and I'm very hyped. So full thoughts to come soon. So I don't usually stick to TBRs, but those books have all been like screaming at me for the last like month, and so I will likely read most of these, I believe. Not really doing nonfiction November this year or ever in my life. This has been a very like heavy fiction year for me, as is the trend, but yeah, let me know what you're reading this month. Are you focusing on nonfiction or not? What is like top 3 books that you want to read this month? I would love to know. And yeah, keep an eye out for Reading the Room stuff. Please join us for the Secret History Book Club. It's going to be a fun-ass time. I'm so excited about it. I want to keep doing that into the new year. Like if you like the book club and you want me to keep doing it, I would love to make that a part of my series. Part of Reading the Room, I'll also upload like the audio to podcast platforms if you want to listen to all of us talk about it. And if you can't make it and you still want to watch it, it'll still be up on my channel. So that is that. But I will catch you all in the next one. Bye.